What if I told you the Indiana Fever didn't just win a game, they rewrote history 6 different times in one night? Yeah, they blew out the Seattle Storm by 20 points, but trust me, that's not the headline. Here's the wild part. Caitlin Clark wasn't even on the court, she was sidelined. 5 other teammates were out too. And yet, Indiana didn't just survive, they put the whole league on notice. This wasn't about squeaking by. This was about records, resilience, and a playoff push that nobody saw coming. And oh, just wait until you hear what Clark's return could mean after this statement. Win. If you're riding with the Fever right now, drop it in the comments. Fired up for the Fever. Now, let's set the scene. Because this night didn't feel like a normal game at all. Imagine this: a star player doesn't even lace up, but somehow her presence owns the entire arena. That was Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Caitlin Clark sat in street clothes, but Nike chose this exact game to unveil her brand new logo, and it turned the night into a celebration bigger than basketball. The double CC symbol lit up the arena, splashed across giant screens, and stamped on t-shirts handed out to every single fan. Within minutes, thousands of people slipped them on. From the stands, it looked like the entire building was wearing the same uniform. Before the ball even tipped off, the atmosphere was electric. Clark wasn't playing, but her brand, her energy, her presence, it carried the building. Gainbridge Fieldhouse didn't look like a regular arena that night. It had been completely transformed. It felt like Caitlin Clark Arena. Everywhere you turned, there were banners, shirts, glowing signs, and fans holding limited edition merch. This wasn't just another WNBA game. It was a full-on cultural event. The pre-game ceremonies only cranked the energy higher. Every time Caitlin's name was mentioned, the crowd erupted. And remember, this was her 16th straight game sitting out with an injury. But here's where the tension hit. Clark wasn't the only one missing. Sophie Cunningham, Chloe Bibby, Sydney Colson, and Ari McDonald were also sidelined. 5 Fever players in street clothes. Add in the fact that Indiana had lost 4 of their last 5, and the playoff race wasn't just tight, it was suffocating. A slip-up here could have buried them even deeper in the standings. So what you had was a strange contrast. Off the court, Indiana threw a spectacle around their superstar, but on the court, they were patched together, under pressure, and staring down a dangerous Seattle team. Even coach Stephanie White admitted before tip-off, this had to be treated like playoff basketball. And Aaliyah Boston summed it up best: this feels like May, not August. That kind of urgency meant the Fever couldn't afford to just show up. They had to bring everything. And here's the twist. While Clark's double CC lit up the building, it was someone else's hands that lit up the scoreboard. Indiana came out blazing, dropping 20-plus points in every single quarter. Seattle never once held a lead. By the end, the scoreboard flashed 95-75, pure domination. That win didn't just get cheers, it changed the standings. Indiana jumped from 8th place up to the 6th seed, right back into the playoff hunt. Fans walked in wearing Clark's logo, but they walked out buzzing about a team that refused to break. And then came the moment that showed what this night was really about: grit. Because early in the first quarter, the entire arena went silent after a brutal collision. Lexi Hull and Gabby Williams smashing heads as they dove for a loose ball. The sound of the collision echoed through the arena. And then came the sight: Lexi Hull walking off the court with a huge knot swelling across her forehead. The crowd gasped. In an instant, the energy that had been buzzing all night turned into silence. With 5 teammates already sidelined, the thought of losing Hull too, it felt crushing. But less than 10 minutes later, the script flipped. The place erupted when Hull checked back in, the swelling still visible, but her toughness impossible to miss. And just like that, the crowd's nervous silence turned back into fire. Aaliyah Boston put it best after the game: Lexi Hull is the definition of tough. Coach Stephanie White didn't hold back either, calling the hit disgusting. Hull herself, she just laughed it off. She even joked later that everyone kept telling her she looked beautiful with the lump. That mindset, to take the hit, brush it off, and keep fighting, gave Indiana something to rally behind. And rally they did. From that point on, the Fever owned the game. The rebounding battle wasn't close. 42-21, Hull grabbed 9 boards, joining forces with Boston and Aerial Powers to dominate the glass. And when it came to paint dominance, Boston was unstoppable. She bulldozed Seattle inside, dropping 27 points on 10 of 18 shooting. Every possession looked like a mismatch. Meanwhile, Kelsey Mitchell and Odyssey Sims lit up the perimeter. Mitchell's quick cuts and fearless drives carved through Seattle's defense, so much so that even Nneka Ogwumike admitted afterward, Mitchell was the head of the snake we just couldn't contain. Sims added her own exclamation point, not just with 22 points, but with a wild contested bank shot from nearly 35 feet, the kind of play that makes an arena lose its mind. Boston, Mitchell, Sims, all three cracked 20-plus points, a three-headed monster that turned the Fever into an unstoppable force, putting constant pressure on Seattle from start to finish. And here's the rare part, this wasn't a hot streak or one lucky run. Indiana was relentless, at least 21 points scored in every quarter. Seattle held under 20 in every quarter. 4 frames of balance, consistency, and complete domination. For a team that stumbled through ups and downs all season, this was their cleanest performance yet, but the score alone didn't make it historic. Hidden inside this victory, records, multiple records, and not just one or two. Indiana rewrote the history books 6 different times in a single night. So how many ways can a team make history in one game? The Fever just gave us the answer, 6. This wasn't just a solid win over Seattle. This turned into one of the most record-setting nights in Indiana Fever history. And the first headline, it belonged to Kelsey Mitchell. By dropping 21 points, Mitchell passed Caitlin Clark's single-season scoring record for the franchise. And remember, Clark set that mark just last year. That tells you everything about how quickly the standard for this young Fever team is skyrocketing. And here's the kicker, you can already feel it. Mitchell and Clark are going to be trading this record back and forth for years. That rivalry inside the same jersey might just define the next decade of Indiana basketball. But Mitchell wasn't finished. She also became the league leader in 20-point games this season, ahead of every other scorer in the WNBA. Now here's where it gets fascinating. This doesn't overshadow Clark, it actually builds the future. Because when Clark is back healthy, and Mitchell is still climbing, the scoring punch between them, that could be the most dangerous backcourt in the league. And speaking of milestones, Aaliyah Boston wasn't about to be left out. She snatched her 1,000th career rebound, becoming the second youngest player in league history to hit that mark. The only one younger, Tina Charles, that's the company Boston is keeping. But here's where it gets even heavier. Boston also became the second fastest WNBA player ever to reach 1,000 rebounds and 350 assists, behind only Candace Parker. Just think about that. 2 names, Parker and Boston. That's it. That's the entire list. That's how versatile she already is, mixing elite rebounding with passing vision and playmaking. Meanwhile, Odyssey Sims added her own stamp to the night. In Clark's absence, she's been more than just depth, she's been a spark. Sims became the second fastest player in franchise history to reach 50 points and 25 assists. The only player to do it faster, Caitlin Clark, that's the level she's playing at. And then came the cherry on top, Boston, Mitchell and Sims all scoring 20-plus points, each in under 30 minutes. That's so rare, it's happened only 6 times in the history of the league. Indiana didn't just win, they made history, again and again and again. This isn't the Fever team we've gotten used to seeing scrape out wins. This was something different, real offensive depth, real dominance. Which raises the biggest question of all, what happens when Caitlin Clark comes back? Because if a short-handed Fever squad can break 6 records in a single night, then honestly, we haven't even seen their ceiling yet. Think about it. The player who never even stepped on the court might still be the key to saving the entire season. That's the weight sitting on Caitlin Clark right now. She's been out since June 15th with a groin injury, 16 straight games missed, 25 total regular season contests, even the Commissioner's Cup final. That's a massive hole for Indiana, a hole they've had to patch with grit and improvisation. But every time her name gets mentioned, the atmosphere shifts. Fans don't just want her back. They believe her return could flip the entire playoff race. Coach Stephanie White has made it clear though, this isn't about rushing Clark back onto the floor. She needs to see her go full speed in practice, taking contact across all 94 feet. Endurance, physicality, playoff level intensity. That's the checklist before her name goes back on the lineup card. And make no mistake, time is running out. The Fever are sitting at 28, clinging to the 6th seed by just half a game. 6 games left. Sparks, Valkyries, Mercury, Sky, Mystics, Lynx, a mix of must-wins and dangerous traps. Drop a couple and things get tense. Win out and suddenly you're talking about a surge of momentum heading straight into the postseason. It's a razor's edge. And right in the middle of it all, Caitlin Clark's status. So what exactly does she bring back? Well, last season already told us the story. As a rookie, she set the Fever's single-season scoring record. Now Kelsey Mitchell has just passed that mark while she's been out. Imagine the two of them together. Clark's limitless range paired with Mitchell's fearless slashing, Boston's inside dominance, Sims' veteran play, Hull's defensive toughness. At that point, you're not just talking about a team fighting for a playoff spot. You're talking about a team that suddenly gives every opponent matchup nightmares. But here's the tricky part. It's not just when Caitlin Clark returns, it's how ready she'll be. Endurance, conditioning, physicality. Those aren't just checkboxes. They'll decide whether Clark instantly elevates her teammates or needs time to ease back in. And the domino effect of her return, immediate. Boston gets more clean looks inside. Mitchell has another creator next to her. Defenses stretch so far out that players like Hull and Bibby will feast in open space. But the bigger question lingers. Can Clark come back healthy enough, and soon enough, to transform Indiana from playoff hopefuls into the contender nobody wants to face? Because her comeback isn't just about one superstar, it's about unlocking this team's full identity. And when you look back at this night, a night where Indiana broke 6 records without her, the thought becomes impossible to ignore. Maybe this was just a preview. Maybe the Fever at full strength aren't just dangerous. Maybe they're unstoppable. This win wasn't just about the scoreboard. It gave Indiana something much bigger, an identity, a toughness, a belief that even without their star, they can dominate anybody. 6 records in one night prove they're not waiting for tomorrow. They're already building history today. Now imagine Clark back on the floor. Her scoring, her vision, her leadership, added to Boston, Mitchell, Sims, Hull and the rest. That's not just a playoff team. That's the foundation of a dynasty. If you're fired up, drop it in the comments. Fired up for the Fever. And hey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss the next chapter of this story. Click the video on your screen now, and I'll see you in the next one.